Do you ever feel stressed out even when nothing is really wrong? Like your body is in some kind of low-grade tension all the time? Or maybe you've noticed some stubborn weight building up around your midsection, and no matter how much you try to eat better or move more, it just won't budge. If any of that sounds familiar, I want you to pay close attention to this video, because what I'm going to share with you today could be one of the missing pieces. Now, here's what a lot of people don't realize. A lot of these symptoms, the fatigue, the cravings, the poor sleep, that frustrating belly fat, they can all be connected to one hormone. And that hormone is called cortisol. Cortisol is your body's main stress hormone. And it's not a bad thing, your body actually needs it. In short bursts, cortisol gives you energy, helps you respond to challenges, and keeps you sharp. The problem is when it stays elevated for too long. And in today's world, for a lot of people, it does exactly that. Here's what's interesting though, one of the biggest things that can quietly keep cortisol elevated is something most people overlook completely. And that's what you eat every single day. So in today's video, I'm going to show you 6 common foods that may be contributing to higher cortisol levels without you even knowing it. And then I'm going to give you 8 better alternatives, real, everyday foods, that may help support a calmer, more balanced state naturally. Let's get into it. So let's start with the basics. What exactly is cortisol, and why does it matter so much? Cortisol is a hormone that's produced by your adrenal glands, 2 small glands that sit right on top of your kidneys. Now, your adrenal glands are constantly working in the background, helping your body manage energy, regulate inflammation, and respond to any kind of stress, whether that's physical, mental, or emotional. Think of cortisol like a built-in alarm system. When something stressful happens, you're running late, you didn't sleep well, you skip a meal, your body releases cortisol to help you handle it. It raises your blood sugar for quick energy, sharpens your focus, and gets your body ready to respond. In that context, cortisol is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. But here's where the problem starts. That alarm system was designed for short-term situations. It was not designed to stay on all day, every day. And in modern life, with chronic stress, poor sleep, and a diet full of processed foods, a lot of people are walking around with cortisol that never really comes back down. And when cortisol stays elevated over time, your body starts to feel it. You may notice that you're tired but can't seem to relax. Your cravings go up, especially for sugar and salty foods. Your sleep becomes lighter and less restful. And one of the most common signs is weight that builds up specifically around the belly. That's not a coincidence. Chronically elevated cortisol actually encourages your body to store fat in that central area. Now here's what most people don't connect, and this is really important. Your diet has a direct influence on cortisol. Not just through stress, but through 2 very specific pathways. The first is blood sugar. Every time your blood sugar spikes and crashes, which happens when you eat certain foods, your body treats that crash as a stressor and releases cortisol to bring things back into balance. The second pathway is inflammation. Certain foods promote inflammation in the body, and chronic inflammation is another signal that keeps cortisol elevated. So when you understand that, it becomes very clear. The food choices you make every single day are either helping to keep cortisol in check, or they are quietly pushing it higher. The good news is, once you know which foods are working against you, you can start making simple swaps. And that's exactly what we're going to cover next. Alright, so now let's talk about the 6 foods that may be quietly contributing to higher cortisol levels. And I want to be clear here, we're not talking about having these things occasionally. We're talking about consuming them regularly, as part of your everyday diet. That's when they start to become a real problem. Let's go through them one by one. Food number 1. Added sugars and sugary drinks. This one is at the top of the list for a reason. When you consume something high in added sugar, whether that's a soda, a flavored coffee drink, a candy bar, or even a so-called healthy fruit juice, your blood sugar shoots up very quickly. And what goes up fast comes down fast. That crash that follows is actually perceived by your body as a stressor. And what does your body do when it senses stress? It releases cortisol. So every time you're riding that blood sugar roller coaster, spike, crash, your adrenal glands are working overtime responding to it. Over time, that pattern keeps cortisol chronically elevated. And many people notice that the more sugar they eat, the more they crave it. That's cortisol and blood sugar instability working together. A simple swap here is to reach for whole fruit instead of sugary drinks or processed sweets. You still get natural sweetness, but with fiber that slows the blood sugar response. Food number 2. Refined carbohydrates. This one surprises a lot of people because refined carbohydrates don't always taste sweet. We're talking about white bread, white rice, regular pasta, pastries, crackers, and most packaged baked goods. But here's the thing, once these foods hit your digestive system, your body breaks them down into sugar very rapidly. The fiber and nutrients have been stripped away during processing, so there's nothing to slow that conversion down. The result is the same blood sugar spike and crash we just talked about, and the same cortisol response that follows. Studies suggest that diets high in refined carbohydrates are associated with greater blood sugar instability, which can contribute to a more stressed internal environment over time. A practical swap is to choose whole grain options like oats, brown rice, or whole grain bread, which digest more slowly and support much steadier blood sugar levels. Food number 3, excessive caffeine. Now I want to be careful here, because I'm not saying caffeine is all bad. For many people, moderate coffee consumption can actually have some benefits. But excessive caffeine, especially first thing in the morning on an empty stomach, is a different story. Here's why. Caffeine directly stimulates your adrenal glands to release cortisol. That's actually part of why it makes you feel alert and awake. But when you're drinking multiple cups throughout the day, or when you're having caffeine when you're already stressed or sleep deprived, you're essentially asking your adrenal glands to keep pumping out cortisol repeatedly. Over time, that can contribute to that wired but tired feeling, where you feel anxious and fatigued at the same time. A practical tip is to have your first cup of coffee about 90 minutes after waking up, after your cortisol has naturally peaked for the morning. And try to keep it to 1 or 2 cups, ideally with or after food. Food number 4, alcohol. A lot of people reach for a drink at the end of the day to unwind. And while it may feel relaxing in the moment, alcohol actually works against your cortisol balance in a couple of important ways. First, alcohol disrupts your sleep architecture. Even if you fall asleep easily, alcohol reduces the quality of deep, restorative sleep. And poor sleep is one of the most powerful drivers of elevated cortisol. Second, alcohol causes blood sugar fluctuations. It can initially lower blood sugar and then trigger a rebound spike, which once again activates that cortisol stress response. Many people notice that even after a couple of drinks, they wake up in the early hours of the morning feeling restless or anxious. That's your cortisol responding to the disruption alcohol has caused. If you enjoy a drink socially, that's your choice, but making it a nightly habit may be working directly against the calm, balanced state you're looking for. Food number 5, ultra-processed and fried foods. This category covers a wide range: fast food, packaged snacks, frozen meals, anything that's been heavily manufactured and is loaded with artificial ingredients, preservatives, refined oils, and additives. These foods are a problem for cortisol for a very specific reason: inflammation. Many ultra-processed and fried foods are cooked in refined vegetable oils that are high in omega-6 fatty acids. When consumed in excess, these can promote systemic inflammation in the body. And as we talked about earlier, chronic inflammation is a direct signal to your body that something is wrong, which keeps that cortisol response activated. On top of that, these foods typically lack the fiber, vitamins, and minerals your body needs to regulate stress hormones effectively. So not only are they adding to the problem, they are also removing the tools your body needs to manage it. A simple shift is to cook more of your meals at home using whole ingredients and healthier fats like olive oil or avocado oil. Food number 6, high-sugar processed snacks. This last one ties a lot of what we've already talked about together. Think chips, cookies, crackers, granola bars, flavored yogurts, and most snack foods you find in a vending machine or the center aisles of a grocery store. These foods tend to combine refined carbohydrates, added sugars, poor quality fats, and artificial flavoring all in one package. What that combination does is hit your blood sugar rapidly, trigger inflammation, and provide very little nutritional value to support your body's stress response systems. And because they are designed to be highly palatable, it's very easy to overconsume them without realizing it. Many people notice that after eating these kinds of snacks, they feel a brief burst of energy followed by a slump, and then they reach for another snack. That cycle is a cortisol cycle in disguise. Swapping these out for whole food snacks, a handful of nuts, some avocado, a boiled egg, or berries, can make a meaningful difference in how stable your energy and mood feel throughout the day. Now that we've covered the 6 foods to be mindful of, let's talk about the good part. The 8 foods you can start adding to your diet right now that may help support a calmer, more balanced cortisol response naturally. Alright, now here's the part one really want you to pay attention to. Because this is where it gets practical and positive. These 8 foods are not exotic or expensive. Most of them you can find at any grocery store. And when you start incorporating them consistently into your daily meals, many people notice a real difference in their energy, their mood, their sleep, and even their cravings. Let's go through them one by one. Food number 1, fatty fish. We're talking about salmon, sardines, mackerel, and herring. These are some of the most nutrient-dense foods you can eat, and they are particularly powerful when it comes to cortisol support. The reason is omega-3 fatty acids. Omega-3s are well studied for their ability to help reduce systemic inflammation, and remember, inflammation is one of the key drivers that keeps cortisol elevated. Studies suggest that regular omega-3 consumption may help blunt the cortisol response to stress, supporting a calmer internal environment even when life gets demanding. Aim for 2 to 3 servings of fatty fish per week. If you're not a big fish eater, sardines on whole grain crackers with some avocado is actually a quick, easy, and incredibly nutrient-dense meal that takes less than 5 minutes to put together. Food number 2, leafy greens. Spinach, kale, Swiss chard, arugula. These are nutritional powerhouses that don't get nearly enough credit when it comes to stress and cortisol. The key nutrients here are magnesium and folate. Magnesium is particularly important because it plays a direct role in regulating the nervous system and the body's stress response. And here's something that many people don't realize. Chronic stress actually depletes magnesium from the body. So the more stressed you are, the more magnesium you use up, and the harder it becomes for your body to calm itself down. Leafy greens are one of the best dietary sources of magnesium available. A practical tip is to add a couple of handfuls of spinach to a morning smoothie. You won't taste it, but you'll be getting a meaningful dose of magnesium to start your day on a steadier footing. Food number 3, avocados. Avocados are one of those foods that seem almost too good to be true, and when it comes to cortisol support, they really do deliver. They contain magnesium, healthy monounsaturated fats, and a good amount of fiber, and that combination works together in a very specific way. The healthy fats and fiber in avocados slow digestion and help stabilize blood sugar, which, as we've established, is one of the most important things you can do to keep cortisol in check. On top of that, the magnesium content supports nervous system regulation. Many people notice that when they include avocado regularly in their diet, their energy feels steadier throughout the day, fewer crashes, fewer cravings, and a calmer overall state. Half an avocado with eggs in the morning, or sliced onto a salad at lunch, is one of the simplest and most effective additions you can make. Food number 4, berries. Blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, blackberries, these small fruits pack a surprisingly powerful nutritional punch. The 2 key things to focus on here are antioxidants and vitamin C. Antioxidants help neutralize oxidative stress in the body, and oxidative stress is closely linked to inflammation and elevated cortisol. But it's the vitamin C that's particularly interesting in the context of cortisol. The adrenal glands actually have one of the highest concentrations of vitamin C of any tissue in the body, and research suggests that adequate vitamin C intake may help support the adrenal glands in managing the cortisol response more effectively. Some studies have even shown that vitamin C supplementation can help reduce cortisol levels after physical or psychological stress. Getting it from whole food sources like berries is always the preferred approach. A handful of mixed berries added to your breakfast or eaten as a snack is one of the easiest daily habits you can build. Food number 5, nuts and seeds. Almonds, walnuts, pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds. This entire category is worth adding to your daily routine. The main benefits here come from magnesium, healthy fats, and in the case of walnuts specifically, a plant-based form of omega-3 fatty acids. Walnuts in particular have been studied for their potential to support a healthier stress response, and pumpkin seeds are one of the richest food sources of magnesium you'll find anywhere. As we've already discussed, magnesium is critical for keeping the nervous system calm and regulating cortisol output. Nuts and seeds also provide sustained energy without causing blood sugar spikes, making them an ideal snack between meals. Keep a small container of mixed nuts and pumpkin seeds at your desk or in your bag so you always have a cortisol-friendly option available when hunger hits. Food number 6, citrus fruits. Oranges, lemons, limes, grapefruit. Citrus fruits are one of the most well-known dietary sources of vitamin C, and as we just covered, vitamin C has a meaningful relationship with how your adrenal glands function and how your body manages the cortisol response. What's particularly interesting is that physical and psychological stress both appear to increase the body's demand for vitamin C. So during periods of high stress, making sure your intake is adequate becomes even more important. Beyond vitamin C, citrus fruits also contain flavonoids, plant compounds that have anti-inflammatory properties and may further support a balanced stress response. Starting your morning with a glass of warm water and fresh lemon juice is a simple, low-effort habit that many people find supports better energy and digestion. And it's a great way to get a dose of vitamin C first thing in the day. Food number 7, dark chocolate. Now this one tends to get people's attention. And yes, dark chocolate, specifically 70% cocoa or higher, can actually be a supportive food for cortisol balance when consumed in moderation. The key compounds here are flavonoids, which are potent antioxidants that have been shown in studies to help reduce inflammation and may support a calmer stress response. Some research has also suggested that dark chocolate may help reduce the perception of stress and support a more positive mood, likely through its influence on neurotransmitters like serotonin. The important word here is moderation. We're talking about 1 or 2 small squares, not a full bar. And the higher the cocoa content, the better, because that's where the beneficial compounds are concentrated. Lower cocoa, higher sugar chocolate loses most of these benefits. A couple of squares of good quality dark chocolate after dinner can be a genuinely enjoyable and supportive daily habit. Food number 8, fermented foods and oats. For our final food, I'm combining 2 things that work through slightly different but equally important pathways: fermented foods like yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, and kimchi, and whole grain oats. Fermented foods support gut health by providing beneficial bacteria that help maintain a healthy gut microbiome. And this matters more than most people realize, because research now shows a strong connection between gut health and the stress response, often referred to as the gut-brain axis. A healthier gut environment is associated with better regulation of stress hormones, including cortisol. Oats, on the other hand, provide soluble fiber and complex carbohydrates that digest slowly, supporting stable blood sugar throughout the morning, which, as we've established, is one of the foundational things you can do to keep cortisol balanced. A practical way to combine both is to make overnight oats with plain kefir or yogurt as the base, topped with berries and a sprinkle of pumpkin seeds. That one breakfast alone covers several of the foods on today's list. Now that you have both sides of the picture, what to reduce and what to add, let's bring it all together with some simple, practical steps to help you get started right away. So now you have the knowledge. You know which foods may be working against your cortisol balance, and you know which foods can help support a calmer, more stable internal environment. But knowing is only half the battle. The other half is actually putting it into practice. And I want to make that part as simple as possible for you. The first thing I want you to understand is this: you do not need to overhaul your entire diet overnight. That kind of thinking actually adds stress, which is the opposite of what we're going for. Instead, focus on making one meaningful swap at a time. Pick one food from the list of 6 that you know you're consuming too regularly, and start replacing it with a better alternative. Just one. That's where the momentum begins. The second thing to focus on is eating regular, balanced meals throughout the day. One of the most underrated things you can do for cortisol is simply not skipping meals. When you go too long without eating, your blood sugar drops, your body perceives that as a stressor, and cortisol goes up. Aim to eat every 4 to 5 hours, and make sure each meal contains a good source of protein, some healthy fat, and fiber-rich carbohydrates. That combination is what keeps blood sugar stable and cortisol steady. Here's a simple meal idea to get you started. For breakfast, try overnight oats made with plain kefir or yogurt, topped with a handful of blueberries and a sprinkle of pumpkin seeds. For lunch, a large leafy green salad with canned salmon or sardines, half an avocado, and a drizzle of olive oil and lemon juice. For a snack, a small handful of walnuts and an orange. And for dinner, a piece of baked salmon with roasted vegetables and a side of brown rice. That one day of eating covers nearly every food on the supportive list, and it's practical, affordable, and genuinely satisfying. Now beyond diet, I also want to mention a few things that work hand in hand with these food choices. Sleep is arguably the most powerful cortisol regulator there is. Aim for 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep each night. Even small improvements in your sleep can have a noticeable effect on how your body handles stress the following day. Gentle movement, like walking, stretching, or yoga, can also help bring cortisol down without spiking it further the way very intense exercise sometimes can when your body is already under stress. And taking even 5 to 10 minutes a day for some form of quiet, whether that's deep breathing, meditation, or simply sitting without your phone, signals to your nervous system that it is safe to relax. Remember, the results come with consistency over time. This is not about being perfect. It is about making slightly better choices, more often, day after day. And over weeks and months, those small consistent changes add up to a very real shift in how you feel. So let's bring it all together. What we've covered today is really quite simple when you step back and look at it. Your body has a natural ability to regulate stress and maintain balance. And the food you eat every single day is either supporting that ability or quietly working against it. The 6 foods we talked about: added sugars, refined carbohydrates, excessive caffeine, alcohol, ultra-processed and fried foods, and high-sugar processed snacks, These are the ones that may be keeping your cortisol elevated without you even realizing it. And the 8 foods we covered: fatty fish, leafy greens, avocados, berries, nuts and seeds, citrus fruits, dark chocolate, and fermented foods and oats. These are the ones that may help your body find that calmer, more balanced state naturally. You don't need to do everything at once. Just start somewhere. Pick one food to reduce this week, and pick one food to add. That's it. Small steps, done consistently, are what create real lasting change. If you found this video helpful, go ahead and give it a like. It really does help this channel reach more people who need this information. And if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do, because every week I put out simple, practical health information just like this to help you feel and function at your best. And I'd love to know, drop a comment below and tell me which food from the supportive list you're going to start adding first. I read every single comment and I'd love to hear from you. And finally, a reminder, everything covered in this video is for educational purposes only and is not intended as medical advice. Everyone's body is different, and if you have any ongoing health concerns or are thinking about making significant changes to your diet, please consult your healthcare provider first. They know your individual situation best. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.